For maths, we're going to continue looking at directions, but we're going to look more closely at the number of degrees in a specific turn and make links to fractions. For example, describing a turn using phrases such as half a turn, 3/4 of a turn, etc. We're going to recap the 8 cardinal compass points, as well as looking at how we can use our knowledge of fractions to help us calculate the number of degrees in a turn. Okay, so we've got the 4 cardinal points, 4 main compass points. Can you remember the names of them all? Do you have a specific way of remembering them? I've got 2. My favourites are naughty elephants squirt water and never eat shredded wheat. So feel free to share your ways of how you remember them. Okay, so north, east, south and west. They're the 4 main cardinal points. Between those 4 cardinal points, we've got a further 4, so a total of 8 cardinal points of the compass that we're going to look at. So between north and east, you've got northeast. Between south and east, you've got southeast, south and west, southwest, and between north and west, you've got northwest. So that, remember when you're saying the compass points, that north and south come first. And this kind of stems from north has always been the primary direction for navigation, and that was even before the compass was invented. So kind of up, down, or north and south became the principal directions to go by. Okay, so now we've got the names of the compass points, let's move on to looking at the degrees in a turn. Okay, so looking at a whole turn, can you remember how many degrees are in one full turn? Well done if you said that there are 360 degrees in a whole turn. That means that no matter what direction you start facing, if you do a full turn, you're going to finish facing that direction. So if you're facing north, you do a full turn, you'd finish facing north again. If you're facing southwest, full turn, then you'd finish facing southwest. Okay. Half a turn. If we know that there are 360 degrees in a whole turn, or a full turn, how many degrees are there going to be in half a turn? Let's have a think about how we can work that out. So if we're looking for half, we divide by 2. Okay, so 360, if we drop that 0 and we think of it as 36, we can partition that, half of 30 and half of 6. So half of 30 is 15, half of 6 is 3. If we add those together, we get 18, and we put our 0 back as a placeholder, and therefore there are 180 degrees in half a turn. Okay. So if we are facing east and we complete half a turn, where would we be facing? We'd be facing west. Now, we're going to go on and you'll hear the terms clockwise and anti-clockwise. Clockwise, remember, we're moving the same direction as the hands on a clock would move, so we're moving towards the right. Anti-clockwise, we're moving the opposite way of a clock, so we're moving towards the left. When we're completing half a turn, it doesn't really matter if you do it clockwise or anti-clockwise. You'll end up facing the same way. So if that was on the other side, taken up there, you can still see they would be facing west. Now, I've added this in. What type of angle is it? Can you remember? Look carefully. This is giving you a little bit of a hint here. It's a straight line angle. Okay, let's look at a quarter turn. There are 180 degrees in half a turn. How do you think we can calculate the degrees in a quarter turn? Now look at that relationship. We've got half a turn here. What are we doing to half to get a quarter? Well done if you've said we're halving it again. So similar to what we did with halving 360, you can drop the 0 and think of it as halving 18. Now you might be quick to say, oh, I know what double makes 18, or you can partition it again. So in a quarter turn, well done if you said that there are 90 degrees. Can you remember what type of angle this is? If you look in this section here, that might help you remember. Well done if you said a right angle. And remember that there are 90 degrees in a right angle. Okay, if we're facing south and we turn a quarter turn anti-clockwise, where will we be facing? So remember what I said about clockwise and anti-clockwise? Anti-clockwise, you're going the opposite way that the hands on a clock would turn. There you go. We would be facing east. Okay, we're going to look now at a non-unit fraction. So remember, a unit fraction has 1 as the numerator, as you can see here. So if we're thinking about a non-unit fraction, it's when the numerator is greater than 1. Okay, so let's have a think about a 2/4 turn. 2/4 turn is the same as a half. There you go, 2/4 equals a half. So how many degrees are there in a 2/4 turn? There's 180. But 90 plus 90 is 180. And there you go again. You can see that straight line there. So if you can remember, straight line angle is 180. That'll help you a little. Okay, let's look at a 3/4 turn. How many degrees are in a 3/4 turn? Can you think of a way that you could work this out? Well, if we know that there are 90 degrees in 1/4, 2/4 turn is equal to 180, because it's 90 add 90, or 90 times 2. So a 3/4 turn, we're adding on an additional 90 degrees. 90 add 90 add 90 is 270. Or you can think of it, 9 add 9 add 9, you know, is 27, and then put your zeros back in as placeholders. Okay, we're going to look at an 1/8 of a turn. We know that a quarter turn is 90 degrees. So what is an 1/8 of a turn? So there's a quarter. So what do you need to do to a quarter to find an 1/8? Well done if you said that you need to half it. So half of 90 is 45, and I always remember that because there are 90 minutes in a full football match, so each half lasts 45 minutes. Can you remember the name of this type of angle? If you think of your angles family, it's the small one. An acute angle, and an acute angle, remember, is always less than 90 degrees. Okay, let's take a look at the compass points. If we are facing northwest and we turn an 1/8 of a turn clockwise, oops, and I've given you away the answer already, you'd be facing north. And remember, clockwise, you're going the same way as the clock towards the right. So well done if you got that there. Okay, let's look at non-unit fractions for 1/8. Okay, so we know that an 1/8 of a turn is equal to 45 degrees. 2/8 of a turn is equal to 90 degrees. Okay, so you've got 45 plus 45, and it's the same as a right angle. We know that's 90 degrees. So a 2/8 of a turn is the same as a quarter of a turn. 3/8, we've got 45, add 45, add 45. 45 times 3 is 135 degrees. So let's think about 4/8 of a turn. What is 4/8 of a turn going to be equal to, and how can we calculate what 4/8 of a turn is in terms of degrees? Four-eighths of a turn is equal to 180, 45 add 45 add 45 add 45, or 45 times 4, and you can see there that it is the same as half a turn. Okay, so if we're moving on to 5/8, notice how the pattern's continuing. We're just adding on another slice of 45. So 5/8 of a turn is equal to 250 degrees. What about 6/8 of a turn? What is that going to be equal to? Top work if you said that it was the same as 3/4 of a turn, which is equal to 270 degrees. For 7/8, we'll just add on another 45, 315, and what about 8/8 of a turn? What is that going to be equal to? Well done if we said it's the same as a full turn or is equal to 360 degrees. Hopefully going over that will give you a little bit of help with your worksheet, but as always, Mrs. Davies and I will be available on Teams if you are a little bit stuck, and you can also fire over questions using the blog as well.